Carl Jung's mind trick. How to trick your brain into liking discipline. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Jim Rohn. What if the secret to loving discipline isn't about forcing yourself to do what you dislike, but about reprogramming your mind to see structure as freedom? In this episode of Spiritual Wisdom, inspired by Carl Jung's profound insights, we'll explore how to train your brain to genuinely enjoy the process of discipline, transforming consistency into an act of self-love rather than self-punishment. Think about it. How would your life change if you stopped fighting discipline and started flowing with it? Comment below your thoughts on what discipline means to you, and let's grow together in awareness, purpose, and mastery. 1. Discipline isn't natural, it's biological resistance. The human brain was never designed for modern discipline. It was designed for survival. Every impulse that pulls you toward comfort, every moment you choose ease over effort, is not a moral failure, but an echo of your biology. Our ancestors didn't need to plan for 10-year goals or maintain focus for long hours. They needed to conserve energy, avoid danger, and seize whatever immediate reward ensured their survival. This ancient wiring still governs us today, silently pushing us to seek rest, comfort, and pleasure in a world that now demands endurance, patience, and consistency. Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom reveals that what we call lack of discipline is not weakness. It's the conflict between a primitive brain and an awakened consciousness learning to evolve beyond it. To trick your brain into liking discipline, you must first understand that resistance is biological, not personal. Your brain is wired to save energy because for thousands of years, expending too much of it meant death. But in the age of spiritual awakening, growth no longer depends on avoiding danger. It depends on consciously reprogramming that same instinct. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." When you bring awareness to your resistance, you stop fighting yourself and start transforming it. You begin to see that the urge to procrastinate or escape isn't laziness. It's a misdirected survival mechanism trying to protect you from imagined exhaustion. Understanding this turns struggle into strategy, and every act of discipline becomes an act of spiritual transcendence. The more you observe your impulses with awareness, the more power you have over them. Spirituality teaches that awakening begins when you stop identifying with your thoughts and start witnessing them. When you notice your mind craving comfort, pause and observe. Don't condemn it. Don't obey it. Just breathe and watch. In that space of awareness, a shift happens. You're no longer the victim of your biology, but the master of it. Each time you choose focus over distraction, you're not just exercising willpower, you're rewiring the brain itself. Neurons that once fired for instant gratification begin to associate pleasure with progress, effort, and purpose. Slowly, discipline stops feeling like deprivation and starts feeling like empowerment. In this process, discipline becomes a form of spiritual training. It's not about punishing yourself or denying pleasure. It's about expanding your capacity for conscious choice. The moment you act despite resistance, you awaken new circuits of courage and clarity within you. Every disciplined act tells your nervous system, "I am safe in growth." Over time, your biology adapts. What once felt like struggle begins to feel like flow. You start finding joy in the rhythm of order, peace in repetition, and strength and consistency. Your spiritual awakening deepens because you're no longer controlled by primal impulses. You're guided by higher intention. Discipline, then, is not the enemy of freedom. It is the path to it. True freedom is not doing whatever you feel like. It's having the power to act in alignment with your purpose, even when your emotions or biology resist. The energy you once spent avoiding effort becomes the same energy that fuels your transformation. When you understand this dance between body and consciousness, you realize that discipline is not about forcing yourself. It's about befriending your nature and teaching it a new way to serve you. Every time you show up with awareness, you are not suppressing your instincts, but upgrading them, merging ancient biology with awakened spirituality. This is the art of inner mastery, the evolution from unconscious survival to conscious creation, where discipline becomes devotion and effort becomes enlightenment. Have you ever tried to train your brain to actually enjoy discipline? If so, share your experience in the comments below so others can learn from your journey. If not, comment, "I will try," and let's begin rewiring our minds together toward growth and mastery. 2. Real discipline comes from design, not willpower. Real discipline isn't born from willpower or bursts of motivation. It's born from design. When you try to force yourself into disciplined behavior, you're fighting your own biology. The human brain is wired to seek comfort, predictability, and reward, not resistance. That's why sheer determination always fades. Motivation, no matter how inspiring in the moment, is temporary because it relies on emotional energy, and emotions fluctuate. As James Clear wrote in Atomic Habits, motivation is overrated. Environment is more important. What this means is that lasting discipline has very little to do with how strong you feel in a given moment, and everything to do with how your surroundings and systems are structured to support the person you want to become. You don't succeed because you wake up feeling inspired every day. You succeed because you've created an environment where success happens naturally. If your space constantly tempts you with distractions, your biology will always win. But if you consciously design your life so that the easiest option is the right one, your brain will adapt. Spirituality teaches the same principle. Transformation doesn't come from suppression, but alignment. When your inner world and outer environment are in harmony, discipline stops being a punishment and becomes a flow. This is how spiritual development truly happens, not through force, but through design that makes the higher path feel natural. Carl Jung often spoke of the unconscious shaping our choices without us realizing it. Discipline, in this sense, is the conscious mind working in cooperation with the unconscious, arranging your environment and daily rhythm so that your deeper values are constantly supported. When your space mirrors your soul's intentions, you no longer have to push yourself. You're pulled forward by design. If you want to wake up early, put your alarm across the room. If you want to read more, place a book where your phone usually is. These small but intentional shifts turn effort into ease because you are no longer battling impulse, you're directing it. This is the true essence of discipline, the quiet structure that sustains spiritual growth. The spiritual journey isn't about resisting your human nature, but understanding it so deeply that you can shape it toward higher purpose. When you work with your biology instead of against it, you discover that self-mastery isn't about force it's about wisdom. By creating systems that align with your soul, you begin to live with greater peace, consistency, and flow. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes effortless, and what once required motivation becomes automatic. This is how spirituality and psychology merge. The design of your environment becomes the design of your destiny, and discipline becomes not a struggle, but a natural expression of who you are becoming. Do you agree that true discipline is built by design, not by force? Comment below with conviction. I design my life with purpose and discipline. 3. Environment shapes behavior. Choice architecture. Your brain doesn't actually crave discipline, it craves ease. It moves toward what's visible, simple, and within reach. That's why you tend to pick your phone up instead of your book, or open social media instead of your journal. Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom reminds us that much of what drives human behavior happens below the surface, within the unconscious mind. So if you truly want to master discipline, don't fight your biology, work with it. Instead of forcing yourself to act against your impulses, reshape the world around you so that your impulses lead you toward the life you want. This is called choice architecture, the art of designing your environment to make good decisions effortless. When you make the right choice, the easiest choice, you turn discipline from a battle into a flow. For example, if you want to drink more water, simply keep a bottle on your desk and in your bag. If you want to meditate, place your cushion where you see it first thing in the morning. You're not becoming stronger, you're becoming smarter. The energy you once used to resist temptation now becomes fuel for consistency. As Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Every environment you live in is a mirror of your unconscious mind. A messy room reflects scattered energy. A clean, peaceful space supports clarity and purpose. When your outer world aligns with your inner values, discipline stops feeling like pressure and starts feeling like harmony. In truth, discipline is not about self-punishment. It's about self-respect. It's not about pushing harder. It's about preparing better. The most successful people aren't always the most motivated, they're the most prepared. They remove friction between intention and action. They don't rely on willpower. They rely on design. When your surroundings invite focus, when your tools are ready, and your environment whispers reminders of who you're becoming, you no longer need to force yourself to act. You simply flow into alignment. This is what Carl Jung's teachings point to. Awareness transforms resistance into rhythm. Your surroundings are constantly programming your mind, whether you realize it or not. The arrangement of objects, the lighting in your room, even the background noise, all of it shapes how your brain feels and what it chooses next. When you take control of this architecture, you take control of your destiny. You're no longer reacting, you're creating. Spiritual wisdom teaches that energy flows where attention goes. So place what matters most where your attention naturally goes. Your goals, your affirmations, your reminders of purpose. When you create an environment that silently echoes your highest self, discipline becomes an effortless expression of your true nature. Discipline is not a test of strength. It's an act of understanding. It's realizing that preparation is the most spiritual form of self-love because it removes unnecessary struggle. By mastering the architecture of your choices, you transform your daily routine into a sacred ritual of alignment between your mind, body, and soul. That's not just productivity, that's enlightenment in action. Don't forget to subscribe for more spiritual wisdom on how to design your environment to shape your destiny. Because true discipline begins with the space you create around you. 4. Habit stacking. Hacking the brain's autopilot. Your brain doesn't resist discipline because you're lazy. It resists because it's wired for survival. For millions of years, the human mind evolved to save energy, avoid pain, and seek quick rewards. It runs on habit loops: cue, routine, and reward. Once a loop is formed, the brain conserves energy by automating it. This is where habit stacking becomes your secret weapon. Instead of forcing new behaviors into your life, you attach them to ones that already exist. You're not fighting your brain, you're reprogramming it gently. After brushing your teeth, meditate for 2 minutes. After turning off your laptop, write 1 line in a gratitude journal. After pouring your morning coffee, take 3 deep breaths. Each small act piggybacks on something familiar, bypassing resistance and making the new habit automatic through neural association. In spirituality and spiritual awakening, this process mirrors how consciousness expands. You don't leap into enlightenment overnight. You grow through consistent awareness anchored in daily rituals. Just as one candle lights another, each tiny practice kindles a deeper connection to presence. Carl Jung believed transformation occurs not by force, but by integration, by allowing the unconscious to cooperate with the conscious mind. Habit stacking is a practical way of doing this. You invite your unconscious autopilot to serve your higher self instead of sabotaging it. Your cue becomes sacred, your routine becomes intentional, and your reward becomes spiritual, a sense of harmony and control within your day. To make it work, start small. Write your stack as a promise. After I, existing habit, I will, new action. The simpler the new behavior, the faster your brain accepts it. Let it take less than a minute, just long enough for your nervous system to register success. After you close your phone at night, repeat a short affirmation like, "I am at peace." After you lock your door, whisper gratitude for the day. Every repetition strengthens the neural bridge between the old habit and the new, engraving discipline into your identity. What once felt like effort begins to feel natural. This is how the mind learns to love discipline, not through punishment or pressure, but through association, ease, and reward. Over time, these small rituals form a rhythm, a spiritual dance between awareness and behavior. You begin to see your day as a chain of conscious moments instead of chaotic reactions. Each habit becomes a doorway to mindfulness, a signal to wake up within your own life. As Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Habit stacking is precisely that, making your unconscious routines serve your conscious goals. Through this alignment, discipline transforms from something heavy into something holy. It's no longer about control, it's about flow. In this way, the path of discipline and the path of spirituality merge, guiding you gently towards spiritual awakening, one intentional loop at a time. 5. Procrastination is poor design, not laziness. Procrastination isn't proof of laziness, it's proof of poor design. The brain isn't wired for self-sabotage, it's wired for survival. It naturally avoids what feels uncertain, effortful, or unrewarding, because deep down, it's trying to protect your energy. When a task feels heavy, unclear, or disconnected from any sense of reward, your brain simply says, "Not now." That's why forcing discipline rarely works. What truly works is redesigning the system. When your environment and habits align with how your brain functions, action stops being a battle and becomes a natural flow. This is where the 4 laws of behavior change step in. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. To make it obvious, build visible cues that trigger immediate action. Leave your journal open on the desk. Set out your workout clothes the night before. Place your book on your pillow so it greets you before sleep. The key is to remove uncertainty. You're not relying on memory or willpower anymore. You're using design to guide behavior. Then, make it attractive by pairing your new habit with something pleasurable or deeply meaningful. Brew your favorite coffee when you start working. Listen to calming music while studying. Or remind yourself that this small act contributes to your greater purpose. When a task connects with your values like peace, health, creativity, or service, it becomes more than a duty. It becomes an act of alignment with your higher self and your spiritual development. Next, make it easy. Shrink the starting point until it feels almost effortless. Commit to reading 1 page, writing 1 paragraph, or stretching for 2 minutes. Remove friction, keep tools ready, minimize distractions, and prepare your environment for success. The easier the start, the faster momentum builds. You don't need to conquer the mountain. You only need to take the first step with clarity and calm intention. And finally, make it satisfying. The brain repeats what feels rewarding. So track your progress, celebrate small wins, and acknowledge yourself at the end of each effort. Each done moment strengthens your self-trust and teaches your mind that progress feels good. When you apply these laws through the lens of spirituality, discipline transforms from struggle into sacred practice. Each intentional act, whether reading, working, or exercising, becomes a form of devotion to your growth. Instead of forcing yourself, you flow with purpose. The process itself becomes meditative. Cue, act, reward, repeat. In this flow, discipline stops feeling like control and starts feeling like freedom. You realize that procrastination was never a moral failure. It was a misalignment between your design and your goals. Once you align them, the system carries you forward effortlessly, and what once felt like resistance becomes the quiet joy of consistency and spiritual development. Leave your like and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss insights like this that help you design your life with purpose and discipline. Type in the comments, "I choose design over distraction." 6. You don't need to like discipline. Just make it inevitable. You don't need to like discipline. You just need to make it inevitable. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This truth reveals that discipline is not about force or emotion, but design and awareness. Most people fail to stay consistent not because they are weak, but because they rely on feelings instead of structure. Spiritual wisdom reminds us that our routines shape our destiny far more than our moods ever will. You don't need to enjoy every step of the process. You just need to make the right choices, so natural and frictionless that they unfold without resistance. Discipline isn't about forcing yourself to do what you dislike. It's about shaping your world, so doing what's right becomes the easiest thing to do. Your brain was never designed for long-term heroics. It evolved for efficiency and survival. It seeks comfort, predictability, and energy conservation. That's why procrastination is not a moral flaw, but a biological response. When the path toward your goals feels heavy or confusing, your brain avoids it to save energy. The key, then, is to work with your mind, not against it. Reduce friction. Make positive actions simple and immediate. Create cues that guide your behavior automatically. Spiritual awakening teaches that when you align your external reality with your inner truth, effort dissolves into flow. The most spiritually wise people don't rely on motivation. They rely on alignment. If you want to build a meditation habit, place your cushion where you can't miss it and commit to 2 minutes, not 20. If you want to eat healthier, fill your kitchen with visible, ready-to-eat fruits and remove processed snacks from sight. If you want to write every morning, keep your journal open on your desk before bed. These are not acts of willpower. They are acts of design. You are not trying to overpower your brain, but to reprogram its environment so that the right action feels inevitable. Discipline becomes less about pushing and more about flowing. As Jung might suggest, you are integrating your shadow, the part of you that resists change, by giving it a structure that gently leads it forward. True discipline is spiritual architecture. It's not about emotional highs or bursts of inspiration. It's about crafting a system that carries you when motivation fades. When you design your surroundings, habits, and schedule to support your higher self, you transform your life from chaos into harmony. This is the essence of spiritual wisdom: cooperation with your own nature instead of war against it. You learn that discipline is not suppression, but self-respect, a daily ritual of choosing alignment over impulse. Over time, your new habits stop feeling like effort and start feeling like identity. That's the quiet mastery Carl Jung pointed toward, making the unconscious conscious so that your structure, not your mood, creates your destiny. 7. Identity is the root of true discipline. Long-term transformation does not begin with behavior, it begins with identity. When you see yourself as the kind of person who follows through, discipline stops being something you force and starts being something you naturally express. Carl Jung once said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." And that truth echoes through every habit you build. If you tell yourself, "I am the kind of person who does what needs to be done," you're not just repeating a phrase, you're sculpting your subconscious. Your brain begins to align with this self-image, quietly filtering your thoughts, emotions, and actions through it until following through feels like your nature, not your burden. Identity shapes habits, and habits reinforce identity. It is a self-reinforcing loop that builds spiritual strength through repetition and consistency. When you operate from the identity level, discipline feels less like resistance and more like embodiment. You are not pushing yourself toward a future version of you. You are simply acting in alignment with who you already believe yourself to be. Spirituality teaches us that awakening is not about adding more, but remembering who you truly are. Discipline, in that same light, is remembering your integrity in every small choice. Every time you honor that choice, your identity grows stronger, and your habits follow like a shadow. You are no longer trapped in the cycle of guilt and motivation. because you've replaced the endless question of how do I stay disciplined with the certainty of this is just who I am. But identity alone is not enough. It must align with your environment and systems. If your environment contradicts who you're becoming, it will pull you back into old versions of yourself. The disciplined person doesn't rely on willpower to resist temptation. They design their surroundings to support their highest self. They keep their phone away while working, lay out their workout clothes the night before, and create spaces that make the right choice the easiest one. When your environment whispers the same message as your inner identity, your brain no longer wastes energy fighting itself. Discipline becomes frictionless, flowing from the alignment between your beliefs, your surroundings, and your routines. Systems act as the invisible architecture that sustains this identity. Rituals, checklists, and structures are not cages. They are sacred containers that preserve your energy. When you have a system, you no longer depend on emotion to act. You depend on rhythm. This is the secret of all lasting change, to let rhythm replace resistance. Over time, these rhythms deepen into habits. Habits crystallize into identity, and identity becomes destiny. In this state, discipline is not an act of self-denial, but a daily expression of self-trust. You do what needs to be done because it feels right, natural, and aligned with your truth. In the process of spiritual awakening, this understanding transforms everything. You realize that discipline is not punishment, it is devotion. It is the act of honoring the divine potential within you by acting in accordance with it. When your environment, systems, and identity form a single flow, you move through life with quiet strength. You don't have to force yourself to be disciplined. You simply live as someone who already is. And in that alignment between inner belief and outer action lies the truest form of freedom, the discipline that feels like peace. To affirm your new identity rooted in discipline, comment below, "I am becoming who I'm meant to be." Let this be your declaration of transformation. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to continue growing with us on spiritual wisdom. Discipline isn't punishment. It's freedom disguised as effort. As Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. When you learn to train your mind to enjoy the process, you stop fighting yourself and start aligning with your purpose. Remember, mastery begins with small, consistent steps that your higher self already knows you're capable of. If this message inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos on transforming the mind and awakening the soul. Carl Jung revealed why only the most spiritually powerful souls feel this mysterious awakening symptom. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when life begins to feel unfamiliar, not because you're lost, but because you're finally waking up. You start to sense that your old reality no longer fits, that something within you is shifting, asking you to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. This isn't confusion, it's activation, the beginning of a rare spiritual awakening that only the most powerful souls experience. Have you ever felt this quiet yet unstoppable transformation? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's explore together what it truly means to awaken. Welcome to Spiritual Wisdom, where we uncover the hidden truth behind the awakening symptom. Carl Jung once spoke of the call of the soul to lead others out of the fog. 1. The rare spiritual symptom. It begins quietly, so quietly that most people never notice. There is no flash of light or thunder from the sky, only a subtle trembling deep within the soul. Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And this mysterious awakening symptom is exactly that, a silent signal that your inner world is beginning to shift. What once felt ordinary now feels hollow. You start sensing that life is speaking to you in hidden ways, that every moment carries a message meant only for your spirit. While others move through the world unaware, something ancient inside you begins to awaken, whispering that your path is different, your purpose greater. This symptom isn't confusion, it's activation. It's your higher self remembering who you are beyond the roles, the fears, and the illusions you've carried. Your thoughts begin to change direction, your emotions deepen, and your perception of reality expands. You start noticing connections between things that once seemed random. You feel energy where others feel emptiness. Suddenly, the outer world loses its grip, and you find yourself drawn inward into a sacred silence where spirituality becomes your new compass. This is not a breakdown, it's a breakthrough. It's your soul reclaiming its authority, slowly awakening from the dream of limitation. Jung believed that every soul carries within it a divine pattern, a unique spiritual blueprint waiting for the right moment to unfold. The awakening symptom is that moment, the stirring of remembrance, when you realize that life has never been accidental. Every hardship, every delay, every heartbreak was designed to push you toward this revelation. You are not awakening because something went wrong. You are awakening because your time has come. The soul that once slept through its potential is now remembering its divine purpose. The energy you feel rising within you is the pulse of creation itself calling you home. As this inner activation deepens, your external world begins to shift. People who no longer resonate with your energy fade away. Old habits and identities collapse. You may feel lost, detached, or uncertain, as if you are walking between two worlds, the old self that no longer fits and the new self still being born. Yet this disorientation is sacred. Spiritual awakening dismantles before it rebuilds. It purifies your vibration so that only truth remains. In this process, loneliness becomes a teacher, silence becomes a sanctuary, and pain becomes the doorway to wisdom. This mysterious symptom, though invisible, marks a total transformation of consciousness. You begin to sense a divine intelligence guiding every step, as if an unseen hand were rearranging your destiny. What once triggered fear now invites surrender. What once seemed meaningless now glows with hidden significance. The veil between the physical and the spiritual begins to thin, and you understand that your awakening is not just personal, it's part of a greater evolution of human awareness. Your soul is not breaking down, it is breaking open, expanding beyond all previous limits. Through this sacred activation, your entire being begins to resonate at a higher frequency. You no longer chase after validation because you start to embody truth itself. The mind quiets, the heart opens, and your energy becomes a beacon for others who are ready to awaken. What was once overlooked as confusion now reveals itself as divine order. And in that moment of recognition, you understand that spirituality was never about escape. it was about remembrance. This mysterious awakening symptom is your spirit's quiet announcement that you have finally begun to live as the soul you were always meant to be. Have you ever experienced a spiritual symptom so rare that it felt like the universe was calling directly to you? If yes, share your story in the comments below to inspire others on their awakening path. If not, comment, "I'm ready to awaken," and open your heart to this profound journey of spiritual wisdom. 2. First layer, the dismantling of the false self. It begins quietly, almost imperceptibly, in moments that seem ordinary yet carry a strange sense of disconnection. Suddenly, everything that once felt certain about your job, your relationships, your ambitions begins to lose its meaning. You start to feel like a stranger in your own life, detached from the identity you once worked so hard to build. It's as if the soul is whispering that something about the way you've been living isn't truly yours. This isn't confusion or chaos. It's the first sacred sign of spiritual development, the dismantling of the false self. According to Carl Jung, the ego must eventually collapse under the weight of its own illusions so that the true self can emerge. What feels like a crisis is actually the soul's rebellion against falseness, the moment when your inner truth begins to dissolve everything built upon fear, validation, or conformity. As this invisible process unfolds, you may find yourself questioning everything you used to believe in. The things that once brought you comfort begin to feel shallow, while the noise of the world becomes unbearable. You can no longer pretend to be who you were, and yet you have not fully become who you are meant to be. This is the in-between, a spiritual void where your old identity crumbles, making space for something authentic to rise. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This moment marks that turning point when you stop being controlled by unconscious patterns and start reclaiming your divine authorship. The dismantling of the false self is not destruction, but purification, a sacred fire burning away everything that no longer aligns with your essence. The more you resist this transformation, the more painful it feels, because the false self fights for its survival. Yet the deeper truth is that what's falling apart is not who you are, but who you thought you had to be. In this awakening, spirituality reveals its real nature, not as an escape from reality, but as an expansion of awareness that transforms how you experience it. You start to see meaning where others see emptiness, purpose where others see loss. The emptiness you once feared becomes a gateway to inner peace. What used to define you externally, titles, possessions, achievements, now feels irrelevant compared to the quiet power of your inner being. You begin to crave authenticity more than approval, silence more than noise, stillness more than movement. This dismantling is not a punishment, but a passage. It teaches that spirituality is not about becoming someone new, but remembering who you have always been beneath the layers of adaptation. You start to feel guided, even when nothing makes sense. Synchronicities appear, people leave, paths shift, yet something deep inside you begins to trust the unfolding. You realize that every loss carries hidden meaning. Every ending hides a beginning. You no longer chase fulfillment outside because you discover that peace was never lost. It was simply buried beneath illusion. The process humbles you, but it also frees you. When the false self dies, the soul breathes for the first time, and life begins to move in alignment with your higher nature. Through this sacred unraveling, you come to understand that spirituality isn't about adding more light. It's about removing the darkness that hides it. What's dying is your attachment to illusion, and what's being born is truth itself. This is the essence of spiritual development. The courage to let go of everything false so your soul can finally live as it was meant to, free, awakened, and whole. 3. Second layer, energetic separation in relationships. Old relationships begin to dissolve quietly, as if the universe itself is editing your life. Conversations that once felt alive now seem shallow, drained of meaning, and people you once understood suddenly feel like strangers. It's not that you've become cold or distant, it's that your soul has started to vibrate at a higher frequency. Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." This is that transformation in motion. You are evolving, and everything that no longer matches your energy naturally begins to fall away. Misalignment breeds distance, and what you're feeling isn't rejection, it's recalibration. The universe is carefully reconfiguring your connections to match the rhythm of your new consciousness. As your spiritual wisdom deepens, you start noticing the subtle language of energy. The tone behind words, the silence that speaks louder than conversation, the heaviness that lingers when someone's vibration doesn't resonate with yours anymore. You begin to realize that every connection has its own frequency, and the more spiritually awake you become, the more sensitive you are to those vibrations. What once felt comforting now feels constricting. What once felt familiar now feels foreign. And although this awareness can bring discomfort, it is also liberation. It's your soul choosing alignment over attachment. In this phase, the lesson is clarity. You learn that you cannot force harmony where there is no energetic resonance. You stop trying to fix, explain, or shrink yourself to fit old dynamics that no longer support your truth. You begin to see that love isn't about clinging, it's about matching frequencies. The universe removes people not to hurt you, but to protect your evolution. And while solitude might feel heavy at first, it becomes sacred, a space where you learn to be your own source of peace. You begin to understand that silence is not absence, it is guidance. It's the pause before the new begins. You start to witness how divine timing works through relationships. Those who are meant for your next chapter will rise to meet your energy, and those who can't will fade without conflict. It's not a punishment, it's a purification. The misunderstandings and separations are simply energy finding its rightful place. You stop labeling these shifts as losses and start seeing them as blessings in disguise. What is gone has served its purpose. What remains is aligned with your truth. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Through this separation, you begin to see what was unconscious in your relationships, the patterns of overgiving, the fear of being alone, the need to be understood. Now, you awaken to a new way of relating, one rooted in awareness and authenticity. You no longer chase connection, you embody it. The recalibration is complete when you understand that what leaves was never meant to stay at your new vibration. And what remains is no longer just company, it's resonance. If you're learning to protect your energy and honor your spiritual boundaries, comment below I choose energetic peace. Let this be your declaration of inner strength and spiritual wisdom. 4. Third layer, heightened sensitivity. When you begin to awaken spiritually, one of the first changes you notice is a profound increase in sensitivity to sounds, crowds, and especially to emotional energy. What once felt normal suddenly becomes overwhelming. But this sensitivity is not a weakness. It's a sacred purification. Your body, mind, and spirit are refining themselves to sense energy with greater clarity and precision. Like a finely tuned instrument, you are learning to resonate only with frequencies that match your truth. Every vibration, every feeling, every reaction becomes meaningful. This stage of spiritual awakening reveals the delicate connection between your inner world and the energy surrounding you, showing you that your emotions are not random. They are guidance. As your sensitivity deepens, you begin to perceive life through energy rather than appearances. The noise of the world feels heavier because your awareness is no longer dull. It's expanding. You sense the emotions behind people's words, the intention beneath their actions, and the unspoken atmosphere of a room. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." This heightened perception is your soul's way of communicating truth beyond logic. You are no longer processing reality through surface impressions, but through energetic intuition. When someone's presence drains you, your energy is warning you. When solitude feels nourishing, it's not loneliness, it's alignment. The more you feel, the more you understand what truly supports your evolution and what distorts it. This transformation can be disorienting because your nervous system begins operating on a subtler frequency. Crowds may exhaust you, loud sounds may jolt your energy, and chaotic emotions may feel unbearable. Yet these reactions are signs of refinement, not fragility. You're shedding old defenses that once kept you numb to the truth. In spirituality, sensitivity is strength. It's the ability to detect harmony and discord at their roots. The awakened soul doesn't escape the world, but learns to move through it consciously. By listening to energy instead of noise, you begin to discern what deserves your presence and what requires your distance. You evolve from reacting to feeling, from confusion to clarity, from blindness to energetic vision. Gradually, sensitivity becomes your inner compass, guiding you toward authenticity. It teaches discernment to sense who truly aligns with your vibration and who does not. You stop chasing validation because your energy tells you when something is right for your soul. You become fluent in the silent language of the universe, where intuition replaces overthinking and emotion becomes a sacred signal rather than a flaw. Carl Jung's insight captures this beautifully. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Your heightened awareness is the bridge between the unconscious and the conscious, between the hidden and the revealed. It's how you begin to live with spiritual wisdom, seeing beyond appearances into the essence of all things. Through this awakening, you discover that sensitivity is not something to suppress, but something to master. It helps you recognize your energetic limits, maintain inner peace, and live in harmony with the flow of life. You learn to honor your body's signals, your emotions' messages, and your intuition's quiet whispers. What once felt like a burden becomes a divine navigation system. This is the real gift of spiritual awakening, the realization that everything around you communicates through vibration, and your sensitivity is the sacred tool that allows you to understand it. When you finally embrace this sensitivity as divine guidance rather than emotional weakness, you stop surviving life and begin truly living it with consciousness, clarity, and power. Before we uncover the next insight, take a moment to subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom and join our growing community of awakened minds. Don't forget to like this video. Your support helps us continue sharing deeper truths about Carl Jung, spirituality, and the journey of dissolving the ego's drive. 5. Fourth layer, dissolving the ego's drive. As you move deeper into your spiritual development, a quiet but powerful transformation begins the dissolving of the ego's drive. The need to compete, to prove yourself, or to dominate others slowly fades away. The endless hunger for approval and recognition loses its flavor, and what once fueled your ambition now transforms into a higher calling. Your motivation no longer comes from wanting to be seen or praised, but from a deep desire to serve, to align, and to create meaningful impact. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And in this stage, that truth begins to unfold within you. You start realizing that success is not about standing above others, but about standing within your purpose. The drive that once made you chase victories now becomes the force that pushes you toward inner mastery. You begin to understand that real fulfillment comes not from applause, but from authenticity. Your ambition evolves. It no longer seeks external rewards, but internal peace. The ego's desire to be the best, to be noticed, or to win begins to dissolve as you awaken to a greater truth, that your true worth has never depended on comparison. You are not in competition with anyone. You are on a journey toward becoming the purest version of yourself. This phase of spirituality softens your perception of success. Instead of chasing achievements, you begin to feel called to contribute, to serve, to elevate others. Your inner compass points toward purpose rather than pride. You realize that being visible is not the same as being valuable, and the desire for validation transforms into the joy of alignment. You no longer ask, "How can I be more admired?" but rather, "How can I be more authentic?" That subtle shift changes everything. The chosen ones who reach this layer of awakening understand that power does not come from dominance, but from presence. They stop defining themselves by titles or possessions, because they now see that the ego's constant need for importance is just fear wearing a mask. As that fear dissolves, a calm confidence emerges, a quiet strength that no one can give or take away. This is when ambition becomes devotion, and your actions begin to flow from love instead of lack. As you align deeper with your purpose, the boundaries between self and service blur. You no longer act to impress, but to express. You are no longer driven by ego, but by essence. You discover that spirituality is not an escape from the world, but a transformation of how you live within it. The real triumph is no longer in winning, but in awakening. When ambition transforms into purpose and validation becomes service, your presence itself becomes a blessing. You begin to walk in quiet confidence, knowing that the impact you make need not be seen to be sacred, because the highest form of power is not dominance, but alignment. 6. Fifth layer, time and flow perception shift. As your consciousness deepens, your awareness begins to detach from the rigid flow of linear time. Minutes lose their fixed meaning, and the boundaries between past, present, and future start to blur. Some moments expand endlessly, filled with profound stillness and clarity, while others seem to vanish in an instant, as if time itself folded inward. You begin to sense that time was never a straight line, but a living rhythm that responds to the energy of your awareness. Carl Jung, the master of spiritual wisdom, once said, "Time is a child playing like a child. Moving pieces on a game board, the kingdom belongs to the child." When you awaken, you begin to understand what he meant. The soul that lives in awareness no longer plays by the clock. It moves with eternity. Gradually, you stop living by schedules and start living by flow. Your life ceases to be governed by alarms and calendars, and instead begins to align with the mysterious current of synchronicity. You notice how when you stop trying to control everything, life starts moving in a rhythm far more intelligent than your own plans. The people you need to meet appear effortlessly. The opportunities meant for you arrive unforced. Jung called this synchronicity the meaningful coincidences that reveal the invisible harmony between your inner and outer worlds. It is as if the universe begins to dance with you, not because you command it, but because you finally trust it. In this sacred shift, intuition becomes your true measure of time. You feel guided not by the ticking of seconds, but by the pulse of knowing within. You no longer ask, "When will it happen?" Instead, you sense, "It's happening now." You begin to trust the delays, the pauses, the divine stillness that holds wisdom far greater than rushing ever could. Each delay becomes a teacher. Each silence a reminder that divine timing is never wrong. You stop chasing what's next because you realize the present moment is already complete. Living in this awareness brings an effortless peace. You release the anxiety of being late, the illusion of running out of time, the fear of missing your purpose. You realize that everything meant for you is already orbiting your energy, waiting for your readiness to align. The universe does not work on your deadlines, it works on your vibration. As Carl Jung revealed through his spiritual wisdom, awakening is not about controlling time, but merging with the timeless. To live in flow is to live in truth, to move not by force, but by grace, not by schedule, but by soul. When you trust this divine rhythm, every breath, every silence, every heartbeat becomes part of the eternal now, where your higher self truly resides. Leave your like and subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming insights on spiritual wisdom and Carl Jung's teachings. Comment below, "I flow effortlessly with divine time." If you're ready to align your soul with the rhythm of the universe. 7. Sixth layer, craving solitude. Solitude begins to feel sacred, almost holy, as if it were a hidden sanctuary built within your own soul. In this state, you don't withdraw from life, you return to it in a deeper, more conscious way. The silence you once feared now becomes a language of truth, a space where the noise of the world dissolves and the whisper of the divine becomes clear. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." When you turn inward, you stop seeking validation from others and start receiving wisdom from your higher self. You realize that isolation isn't loneliness, it's recalibration. It's the soul's way of cleansing the static, of resetting its frequency to align with divine intelligence. In stillness, you are not empty. You are being refilled with light. You feel an inner expansion, as if every breath carries you deeper into awareness, and every pause connects you to something eternal. The more you honor solitude, the more powerful your spiritual energy becomes. What once felt like emptiness transforms into a sacred field of creation, where new insights are born in silence. The longer you remain in this stillness, the clearer your thoughts and emotions become. You begin to see patterns in your past, understand the meaning behind your pain, and sense a greater purpose unfolding from within. In spirituality, this phase is the deep integration of your awakening. It's where the soul reassembles itself after shedding illusions. Solitude is the bridge between who you were and who you are becoming. It's the inner temple where spiritual downloads occur naturally, not through effort, but through surrender. These moments of divine understanding often arrive without warning, like gentle waves of intuition or flashes of realization that remind you that everything you seek has always been inside you. In this sacred quiet, you start to feel the vibration of your own truth. Energy that was once scattered by distractions now gathers into focus. The more you detach from the external world, the more radiant your inner world becomes. Jung believed that true loneliness arises not from being alone, but from being unable to share what truly matters to the soul. Yet in solitude, you finally commune with the one being who understands you completely, your higher self. You learn that silence is not an absence of sound. It's the presence of pure awareness. This stillness heals you, purifies your energy, and connects you directly with the divine current flowing through all things. Your spiritual awakening deepens with every moment you spend here, not because you are doing something, but because you are allowing yourself to simply be. Each second of stillness sharpens your intuition and expands your consciousness. You start to trust the unseen flow guiding you, sensing that every quiet moment carries a lesson meant only for you. The boundaries between self and spirit begin to blur. You no longer chase enlightenment. It emerges naturally as the natural rhythm of your soul. Solitude becomes your greatest teacher, your truest mirror, and your most loyal companion. It is here that spiritual wisdom unfolds effortlessly, teaching you that peace is not found in escaping life, but in embracing it fully from within. The silence becomes your power, your clarity, and your connection to all that exists. This is not withdrawal, it is awakening. And in that awakening, you discover that the more still you become, the more alive your spirit truly is. 8. Seventh layer, the emergence of purpose. At the seventh layer of spiritual development, a powerful realization begins to emerge, the awakening of purpose. It's that deep, unmistakable feeling that you are not here by accident, that your existence carries meaning beyond survival or success. This isn't a thought born from the ego's desire to be special. It's a sacred recognition rising from the soul's core. You start to feel a divine pull towards something greater, something that transcends ordinary ambition. The things that once seemed important titles, possessions, or approval begin to lose their shine. And what you crave instead is authenticity, integrity, and contribution. You no longer want to live a life that merely looks successful. You want to live one that feels true to your essence. Carl Jung described this as the point where the self, the divine center within, takes the reins from the ego. guiding you to fulfill your higher destiny. You begin to sense that every challenge and triumph you've experienced was never random. Each moment was preparing you for this very unfolding. As your spirituality deepens, this emergence of purpose becomes both a revelation and a responsibility. You start to see yourself as part of something vast, a divine tapestry woven through time and consciousness. Your spiritual development now asks you to bridge the inner and outer worlds to translate your inner growth into meaningful action. Whether your purpose expresses itself in public service, creative expression, or quiet acts of kindness, you understand that it's not about visibility, but alignment. Your life starts to move from "what do I want" to "what am I here to give?" This transition marks the birth of divine service. You begin to embody the truth that your gifts were never meant to be hoarded, but shared as vessels for higher energy to flow through. As Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Living in purpose is that privilege realized. But this stage also demands courage. The universe begins to strip away everything that is no longer aligned with your soul's truth. People may fall away, careers may shift, comfort zones may dissolve. It can feel disorienting, yet this purification is necessary for transformation. In this shedding, you discover that purpose isn't about doing more, it's about being more. Being more aware, more present, more compassionate. You start to notice synchronicities guiding you, symbols, dreams, and encounters that affirm your direction. These are the universe's way of whispering, "Keep going, you are on the right path." Purpose isn't found by chasing it, but by becoming still enough to remember it. It was always there, encoded in your soul, waiting for you to awaken to it. And as you embody this awareness, everything begins to change. Every action, no matter how small, carries sacred intention. The way you speak, listen, create, or love becomes an expression of your soul's divine rhythm. The ultimate lesson of this stage is that purpose is not something external to seek. It is the essence of who you are when you live in alignment with truth. Through your spiritual development, you come to see that the most powerful contribution you can make to the world is to live as a conscious, awakened being. When you do, your very presence becomes a light, reminding others of their own sacred purpose and the divine wisdom already living within them. If you found this message meaningful, remember to like this video, subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom, and share your reflections in the comments below. Let's keep uncovering the deeper purpose that connects us all. 9. Eighth and final layer, authentic embodiment. The moment you awaken at the deepest layer, everything false begins to dissolve. You stop wearing masks, stop chasing approval, and stop performing for a world that never truly saw you. Authenticity becomes your natural state, and from it, your boundaries strengthen. You no longer allow energy that drains your truth. Instead, you move through life with simplicity and clarity, because truth now guides every step you take. There is no longer a need to prove anything, you simply are. As Carl Jung once said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. That realization becomes the heartbeat of your existence. You understand that awakening is not about adding more to yourself, but shedding everything that is not real. It's the sacred return to your original essence, unshaken by the illusions of the outer world. This stage is not about perfection, but about alignment. You stop striving for enlightenment as a goal and start living it as a state of being. The mind quiets down, and the soul takes the lead. You feel emotions without becoming them, experience chaos without losing balance, and witness the world through the eyes of stillness. This is where spiritual wisdom transforms from theory into embodiment. The lessons you once sought externally are now written within your own being. Jung described this process as individuation, the union of light and shadow, spirit and matter, heaven and earth. It is the point where you stop trying to heal and begin living as the healed. You become the mirror through which others remember who they are. As you step into this embodiment, life becomes astonishingly simple. Every choice aligns with truth. Every relationship reflects authenticity. You no longer move from fear, but from grounded awareness. There is no split between your thoughts and your actions. Your outer life begins to mirror your inner clarity. The more authentic you become, the more peaceful you feel. The silence within no longer frightens you. It nourishes you. This is the final awakening, not as an ending, but as a new beginning in a life guided not by ego, but by divine consciousness expressing itself through you. What once felt like losing yourself now feels like coming home. You realize that the old world no longer fits because your vibration has changed. You are no longer trying to escape reality. You are here to transform it. Your soul aligns with its higher mission, to embody divine truth in human form, to lead not by preaching, but by living. You understand that your awakening was never random. It was preparation. The chaos, the loneliness, the longing, they were all part of the refining process. Every experience carved you into a vessel strong enough to carry the light of truth. And now, as Carl Jung's teachings echo within your spirit, you see the beauty of this final layer. It is not the end of awakening, but the completion of pretending. You are no longer searching for the divine. You are walking as it. You are no longer seeking connection. You are connection itself. This is the permanent state of awakening where your humanity and divinity meet, and you finally live as the truth you were always meant to embody. The mysterious awakening symptom Carl Jung spoke of isn't a sign of something wrong. It's a sign of your soul evolving. When you begin to feel detached from old versions of yourself, when you see through illusions that others still live in, it means your consciousness is expanding. So, honor this sacred stage of your journey. You are not losing yourself. You are remembering who you truly are. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. And turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos on spiritual awakening and transformation.